Hello and welcome to Sunday Drivers Grand Prix Legends Long Play Series. My name is Jack Cobourn and today we are running the 1965 Sandown International. Now it's been a wild couple of weeks for me in the Tasman series. I missed the race at Taratanga, and when I instead went to Daytona for the 500 and missed Warwick Farm, well, that didn't go as planned either. So I'm back, kind of licking my wounds, ready to go for Sandown International. Alright, let's talk about the points situation here in the Tasman series to start with. So, Jim Clark has won the last two races at Taratanga and Warwick Farm. He now sits on 33 points. Jack Brabham finished second at Warwick Farm, didn't score at Taratanga. He is on 19 points. Frank Gardner, despite not scoring in either of the previous two races, is on 12. With Graham Hill scoring 11 points, he's tied with Bruce McLaren. Then it's a three-way tie between John Riley, Jim Palmer, and Bib Stillwell on 7. Frank Manage sits on 5. 1961 World Champion Phil Hill, coming to the end of his long and storied single-seater career, has 4 points. New Zealander Cary Grant has 3. Leo Gagin is also tied with him on 3. Rex Flowers sits on 2, and Rolly Levis sits on 1. Alright, let's talk about the Sandown International Raceway for a minute. Okay, so it says there's 9 turns. There's really about 8, and I'll go through everything in a minute with you, but I just want to give you the view of everything because I think that's rather important. The track hasn't changed too much in its 60-some-odd year history here. It looks almost about the same for the V8 Supercar Series, or Rough Coast Supercar Series as it's known now. Alright, let's get into the training mode for this. Alright, I am actually really bad at Sandown Park, or Sandown Raceway. Sandown Park is a country estate in England. They have a go-kart track, but it's not this. So you'll hear it said both ways. Sometimes it's Sandown Raceway. Sometimes it's Sandown Park. It'll be interchangeable, but just now we're talking about this place and not the English Country House. Alright, so 8765. Alright. So the course was built around a horse racing track that closed in the 1930s. The horse racing track wouldn't actually open until 1965. The circuit itself opened in 1962. It's built near the site of the first motor racing circuit in Australia, where the first motor race was held in 1902. The first race in 1962 was actually this, the 1962 Sandown International Cup. It was won by Jack Brabham. I think about 4 or 5 Australian Grand Prix were held here between 1964 and 1978. Jack Brabham won the first Australian Grand Prix held here in 1964. Jim Clark took his final ever victory in any form of racing here in 1968, a couple weeks before he was tragically killed at Hockenheim. The 1978 Australian Grand Prix featured a really special event. Since the event was the 50th Australian Grand Prix, the course, the Light Car Club of Australia, who owned the course, invited Jack Brabham and Juan Manuel Fangio, two Formula 1 World Champions, to come and have a demonstration event before the big Formula 5000 race. Jack Brabham showed up in his 1966 Brabham Repco BT19, which won him the 66 World Championship, and Fangio actually showed up with a Mercedes W196 from 1955, fresh out of the Mercedes-Benz Museum in Stuttgart. A 3-lap demonstration was held, and Bob Dean and Bill Patterson, who were also top Australian aces of the late 50s and early 60s. They were Cooper aces, to say the least, and both were car dealers and parts specialists. If you know what Bob Dean T-Marts are, that's who Bob Dean is. He's also the owner of Calder Park, too, and the creator of the NASCAR series in Australia. Anyway, the 3-lap sprint went, and Brabham and Fangio ran around and traded the lead multiple times to make it look really good, and Brabham basically won, just crossing the line a very short distance ahead of Fangio. This was going to be the last time the Australian Grand Prix was ever held at Sandown. I think the 79 Australian Grand Prix went to Oran Park, 80 went to Calder Park, and then from 80 until 84 it stayed at Calder as a Formula Atlantic event featuring Grand Prix stars, and then moved to Adelaide in 1985. So yeah. In 1984, the FIA decided they wanted to hold a World Championship sports car race in Australia, I guess almost as like a test event, to see if they could actually hold a Formula 1 event down under. I'm not really quite sure. But Sandown Park was changed, and I'll show you where it was changed and how it was changed. So, we're coming to the end of the lap. Now, today, there's a little bit of a chicane leading into this section, and the pits are to this side of the road, on the right side of the road, in front of the horse racing grandstand. These pits no longer exist, and this is the first corner. Coming down the back straight here, I'm doing a really bad job of driving this car, by the way. I'm not very good around here, I don't know why. It's so simple to do this. At about this point on the circuit, you would brake and you would turn right, basically into a tight infield section around here, and then come back out just about where that Luki Mufflers sign is, at the top of Dandong Road Corner, and then continue on with the lap. The circuit, the idea of holding a World Sports Car race must have been enticing to Light Car Club of Australia, but honestly it cost them both the ownership of the circuit and their clubhouse. So it really bankrupted them to hold this. And while one more World Sports Car Championship race was held here in 1988, it was the last time an international event of any kind was held at Sandown Park. Today, there are a couple slight changes to the circuit. As I said, the circuit has stayed about the same the whole way, but there are a couple slight changes, and there are only 5 events held here per year now. 2 national events, one supercars race. Sometimes it's a endurance race, sometimes it's a super sprint, which it will be this year. Boo. Absolutely boo on that one. And like one other, and then a historic event. And the track is always under threat because, like Kyalami before it in South Africa, the track is just going to probably become a victim of urban expansion. The horse racing track I don't think does a whole lot of brisk business, but I can't be sure of that. And yeah, and the circuit owners are always trying to figure out if they can just, sell up and have it turned into housing. I hope that doesn't happen because it is one of the most fantastical courses in all of Australia. So I'm going to pit real quick, just so we can get a couple more laps of fuel in the car. And then I'll take you around and describe the corners to you. But Sandown Park is actually one of my favorite little courses. Oh, and by the way, if you like V8 supercars racing and you like the idea of seeing racing at Sandown, it will be part of the final series, like the chase for the NASCAR Cup, but for supercars, in like October, November. Take a look at the schedule. See if you want to get tickets. I know, it's Australia, and flights are not cheap due to the fuel issues. But, yeah. Anyway, let me set up for reading the corners out to you, and we'll describe how to get around this circuit well. So, of course, this is not the first corner, and we'll talk more about that as we come around. Unfortunately, during the 1965 Sandown International weekend, famed Australian racing driver and three-time Australian Grand Prix winner Lex Davison tragically died after having a heart condition, which caused him to crash into a ditch on the back straight and be flung out of his car, where he received fatal injuries. Lex, of course, won multiple Australian Grand Prix, and was a noted figure in Australian motorsport post-war. He also, and I'll describe it in a second as we come around, put a car through the guardrail during the 1964 6-hour race. So, here we go. On to a lap of Sandown Park. Alright, I am not quick around here. I am legitimately 9 seconds off Clark's pole time most times around here. I can't figure out really why, but it is what it is. So this is the first corner, Shell Corner. And then as you come down to number 2 here, Peter's Corner, named for Peter's Ice Cream, the health food of a nation, apparently. Lex Davison put his big Ford Galaxy through that guardrail during the 64 6-hour race and nearly crashed into the reservoir down below. As you come down this long back straight, I will usually start to brake around this point for the corner, for Dandenong Road, and slide the car in there. This complex is a little bit tricky. And then we come down to Goodyear, another really tricky, almost 90-degree left-hander. And then a couple quick little S's through here. And then down to, as we come across here, Dunlop Bridge Corner. And then out onto the front straight. Okay, we did a 1:17.12. Let's see if I can get that down a little bit further. For one thing, once again, I'll say it before, I really don't like this Lotus 32B. Don't like the way it looks, I don't really like the way it drives. I would much prefer to have my little Lotus 33 Climax, but you win some, you lose some. It has to stay at home and get ready for the non-championship races. Coming down the back straight here. This is what usually happens if I try to push it through this corner. So, I'm going to bring it into the pits. Oh, and by the way, you'll see me... It's a double race weekend this weekend for you guys. I decided to do something a little bit different. Instead of running the touring car race as just a separate week event, like I did with the Wigron one, that was literally, I just ran out of ideas to have. Pretty much is what that one came down to. We're going to run the touring car race here at Sandown. Not the 6-hour one, just a little, 4 or 5 lap support race to show you. Now, the R-Factor version is completely different to the Grand Prix Legends version. It's not as well detailed, and there's a couple things on there that just look strange. So I figured using the definitive version of Sandown for this track description would be the best option. So anyway, join me for the touring car race practice in a moment. Alright, I'll see you there. adjust your set or anything. This isn't, something crazy. We're running a double race this weekend. For one thing, we're doing touring car racing at Sandown as the curtain raiser to the Tasman Series race. So I just thought, why not bring my little Lotus-Cortina over to play? So let me do some adjustment here. Yeah, I think that should be good. Alright, I'm gonna go out for a really quick practice lap. Okay, and whoop. Alright, we'll put the car there. Alright. So of course this track is going to look a little different from the Grand Prix Legends version. Not a whole lot I can do about that. So I just picked some random touring cars to have a race with. So here's a Renault 8 Gordini. I'm just gonna blitz past that. It would actually be easier to, so as you can probably see from this, we're running the, we did the track test in the Tasman car, and I probably had a whole lot of problems with that, come to think of it. I'm actually doing this in a couple different parts, and so I'm filming the touring car race first. Wow, this is definitely not photographically accurate. Definitely the Grand Prix Legends version is. At some point I'll have to figure out how to import that. Yeah, anyway. Here we go. So it's just a bunch of minis, Cortinas, some Falcons, a couple Fiat Abarths, because why not? Definitely Lotus-Cortinas. Yeah, just random touring cars for, the fun of it. We'll do like a really quick lap around here. If you've never seen the old Speed Vision Speed Channel series Legends of Motorsport, there's a great one about the 1964 6-hour race from Sandown. You can find that on YouTube, along with the 65 6-hour race at Sandown, which took place in November 1965. So I think if it doesn't interfere with, like, Mexican Grand Prix or something, well, guess what? We'll probably run the Sandown 6-hour in some form. Today, of course, the Sandown 6-hour is known as the Sandown 500, though I don't think the Sandown 500 is run as an endurance race anymore. It's been quite some time since I've watched supercars racing, but it used to be the curtain raiser for Bathurst. So just doing a couple quick laps, just having a little bit of fun. I really enjoy driving this little Cortina. It's been a lot of fun being able to race this car. So yeah, let's see if we can make this first corner happen a little bit better. I actually really have problems with this corner in the Tasman Series cars. You've probably seen that already. Let me tell you, I will be glad to not have to drive the Lotus 32B again after this Tasman Series. I cannot wait to get back behind the wheel of my beloved Lotus 33 and take on the Grand Prix heroes. I mean, fourth in practice isn't too bad. This is where the car will get a little bit light, is here, especially in the Tasman car, especially through this section, is a real pain in the neck in the Tasman car. And if I can stop driving on the green stuff, because only the horses race on the green stuff, yeah, that would be nice. Car through the corner. Personally, I really do like the original layout of Sandown. Unfortunately, because they wanted to run World Sports Cars here in 1984, a new infield section was built, and after that they made some changes, and the facility wasn't quite the same. But we have it here in our factory. We, of course, have it in Grand Prix London. So, let's see what we can do. We'll do one more lap in practice, then we'll move on to qualifying, and then we'll do the 4-lap race. So how this is going to look is after I shoot this practice session, I move on to qualifying. I'm going to take a brief break in the film so that way I can run over and jump in the Tasman Series car and go, you know, hog wild around there. Yeah, let's battle a little bit there. Nice. I think I definitely have this figured out now. Luckily, there are no Alpha GTAs to have to go up against. They would come later on in 1965. But, yeah. So, at the moment, the Lotus-Cortina is still the touring car king.
Alright, that was a 137.82.
What damage? I don't even know. Anyway. Alright. So let's finish the session. Where did I qualified 7th. I'm 4 seconds off. But the only thing that is really ahead of me that I really have to be worried about is that one Cortina. So let's see what qualifying brings for us. We have 12 laps. I think we'll only need about 2 of them to get this right. Alright, here we go. Out of the Sandown pit lane. Yeah, so I'm going to run practice and qualifying first for the touring car. Then I'm going to stop the video and you'll see me jump into Grand Prix Legends and get behind the wheel of the Formula 1 car. Stop that video after that practice session and jump back into the touring car for the 4-lap touring car race and then go from there. Oh no. Oh no 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 no. Come on. There you go. Excuse me. Yeah, so I'm kind of enjoying this weird little 60s racing adventure we're having. One thing you might not see, I'm still trying to figure it out in time for next week's episode is, I don't know why, but I can't get the 1970 version of Daytona, the road course, to work. So there might not actually be a Daytona 2,000 kilometer race to start with. We might be racing the Cortina once again at Longford. And why are we not racing the Tasman car at Longford? Because unfortunately I don't have a Longford for Grand Prix Legends. Oops. Yeah, that happens. So we'll just be running the Cortina instead. Again, no real skin off my back because, frankly, I hate the Lotus 32B. Luckily I only have like one more race with it after this at Sandown. When we go to the non-championship round, I think so. I really only have 2 more chances to win down here with this car. So maybe I can pull it off today and get some valuable Tasman Series points. Because so far, I have none. Ooh, boy. Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. Alright, let's go for it. Next lap. We're just hammering through this section. Let me tell you, I absolutely adore this little Lotus-Cortina. It's so much fun to drive. Honestly, if you're not playing R Factor 1 in 2026, and you're wondering, should I do a Assetto Corsa, or should I do R Factor 1, or should I try... I mean, the Assetto Corsa is great, don't get me wrong. I have it as well. But I really do enjoy playing R Factor. And I really do enjoy having this historic GT mod to play with in it. It's just so much fun to get this all right. Let's get this corner. I'm not too concerned if the Falcons or the Mustangs beat me if I can just win my class. Sandown is one of those power tracks, and the Lotus-Cortina might not just have the power to do this. Oh no. Oh, that's going to be expensive. Ooh, that is going to be expensive. That's what happens. That's what happens when you come down that hill. It's like that today in modern V8 supercar racing. Yes, I know it's called supercars. It's stupid to call it supercars. They should have just left it as 5-liter V8 touring cars. Called the thing the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, like it had been for donkey's years, and just left it at that. Why do we need to confuse it with, I don't know, Ferrari Enzos and nonsense like that? Alright, one more really good lap here, and we'll see what we can do. Let's sing past that middle, no 8 Gordini. Setting the car just into the grass again. We're figuring it out as we go. Oh, come on. Boy, it is a challenge to drive this car sometimes, but it's so much fun. Alright, we're gonna bring it into the pits. And close out of qualifying. Alright. Then we're going to finish this session. I'm 6th. That's not too bad. I'm the first of the Cortinas, which is nice. Yeah, okay. That's a pretty good field. Alright, so join me in a moment as I hop into the Tasman car to do that, and we'll go from there. Alright, see you in a sec for Tasman Series practice. Alright, with the touring car practice over, let's get to the Tasman Series practice. Alright, let's change a couple things on the drivetrain. See if we can make this a little bit faster. I think I'll do 3 clutches and see if that helps. Usually I don't play around with car setups, but I would at least like to score some form of points around here, if I can. Now what's weird is this car is a 5-speed gearbox. I was not expecting that, because I know when I first started talking about the Tasman series, I said this car actually had a 4-speed gearbox. So what I think really what this is it technically is just a skin job of a Lotus-49. The stock standard Lotus-49, by the way. That would have come with Grand Prix Legends. The 67 Extra 49 looks way cleaner and different. Anyway, I like that little run through Dunlop Bridge there, but I know that's a dangerous move. Alright, we'll start braking about here. Cannon's brake into shell. Lift the car a little bit wide there. Rid the car through Peters, later known as Tirana Corner for most of the 1970s, thanks to Holden's sponsorship. Coming down to Danadong Road, we'll begin to apply the brakes. This corner would become known as Marlboro Country, thanks to sponsorship from, well, none other than Marlboro. Goodyear pretty much stayed Goodyear until about the 1980s, when I think GM bought the rights to the sponsorship billboard. Then yeah. Alright, let's go get this. Let's have the mechanics bring the car back. Yeah, that was not fun. Alright, Bruce McLaren goes by in that nice looking Works Cooper. It technically is the first McLaren F1 car. Because McLaren actually designed, I think, the Tasman Coopers for this. Definitely the 64 cars were totally a McLaren creation of some sort. Not the cleanest line. I probably took the actual like V8 supercar line through there, but it might work. I don't know. I mean, the car feels tons better through here. If I can just not have to lift so much through there. Coming down to Letting the car in, letting the car wide. Bumping off the fence, Peters. You can really tell I am like really trying here. On the back straight. Car set up for Bandit on the road. Not a great performance through there, but not one that makes me mad. Little bit of good acceleration out of the Goodyear corner there. Whew! The car really wants to move. Not a great time by any stretch of the imagination. I'm 16th on grid. Really happy with that, but might do. I have a feeling Clark hasn't even... Yes, I mean, Stillwell's... Clark has not come out yet, that's for sure. I think he just did, though. Alright, let's see if I can get down to there. Oh, God. Alright, spin. Okay, suspension is definitely knocked out. I'm going to have to bring this into the pits. I'll let Riley get by. Oh, come on, Frank. Okay, that was your fault, Jim. I gave you space. Ooh, man, this is really difficult to drive a car with the toe is definitely out on it. Oh, I don't like that my pit stall is right there. Okay. Alright, we're 2 seconds off of Abernathy. Oh, I want a smaller number. It'll mean the car can go a little bit faster. Alright, let's try that. Okay. Now, what went on there? It's breaking through there, my friend. Alright, bring the car down. Nice and easy. Oh, if I can give Jim Carcatel. Oh, my cleanest performance, by the way. Definitely not my clean. $117.74. And the car into the corner. Oh good, I broke the suspension. Fantastic. Okay, well I think that'll be the end of the practice there, only because my mechanics might actually kill me, so... Alright, and we're here for the touring car race. Alright, let's do this. Alright, we're starting 6th on the grid. That's not too bad. Well, I didn't get too bad a start. Gina's... Really, as long as I'm ahead of all the other Cortinas, doesn't really matter. We have a couple Falcons, a couple Mustangs. Alright, let's see what we can do about diving down the inside on all of them. Car slowed up nice and simply. Foot put down. Alright, so... Of course, the Falcons and everything, well, there were 4 Falcons in Australia at this time, of course there were. The Falcons in this are kind of to represent things like Galaxies and Valiants and stuff like that that was competing at the time in Australian touring car racing. Of course, the Mustangs are going to be, you know, some of the cars to beat here. Okay, where do you think you're going? Oh, you're gonna try to sneak it down the inside. Guess what? No. But, as I chuck it onto the grass, I only got that position like that. But that's okay, because I'm gonna stuff it right down the inside here. Hopefully not do Alex Davison and throw it into the reservoir behind the guardrail at Peter's Corner. This is a pretty nice battle. I'm not gonna complain about this. If we can get on the podium, that would be fantastic. Just check it down the inside. That down the inside. And then we're going to push as hard as we can to try and catch up to the 2 lead cars. Run this horn into the corner. Let's sit back, relax a little bit.
Alright, that was a 138.24.
And brake. So gently. And push on. Halfway through. Yeah, this place is absolutely wild. Ooh. Of course, we'll have touring car GT races when we get back to England for, some of the non-championship F1 events. I think there definitely was a maybe it was a championship British touring car race at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so of course we'll do that as well. And we might not catch the leader, but we'll definitely catch the guy in second. I can just have a feeling I can just roll the car through the corner. The Falcon definitely has more power than the little Cortina, so it's going to be a challenge down the straight. But once we get to the corners, and I'll begin to brake under the Goodyear Bridge here, or just before the Goodyear Bridge. It's a nice little slot in there. If we had one more lap, we might have caught the winner. I mean, there's still time. We might be able to. Let's see. Ooh, we're getting close. Ooh, yeah. That was a good move by just getting the car perfectly on the brakes, getting it all picked up perfectly. It's like the opposite of the final corner at Laguna Seca Gran Turismo. And of course, we get beaten by 0.058 seconds. Had I covered him off, we would have won the damn thing. But that's okay. Just going to come into the pits. And that'll be that. Okay. So, not too bad. We're second on, second overall, first in class. That was pretty good. I enjoyed that immensely. Stay tuned really quick. Let's get to the very end here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that seems about right there. Alright, so stay tuned for the Tasman Series race from Sandown. And, yeah, I'll see you in a moment or two for that. Alright, cool. This has been a presentation of Alsatian Productions.
Vroom!